A heavenly escape in the heart of Peterborough, Heavenly Desserts is the perfect place to relax with friends, unwind with family, or for casual meetings with colleagues. You can now indulge in our delicious brunch menu with mouth-watering savoury delights, served from 11 a.m. every day. Visit us today at Cowgate, Peterborough, the go-to spot for good times and great company. Where else but Heavenly's? Party packages available for birthdays and other celebrations. Also available to order through Just Eat, Deliveroo and Uber Eats.
You're listening to Peterborough's community radio, Salam Radio. Salam Radio. 106.2 FM.
Good evening, it's Akil with Let's Talk live on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. Also Facebook, Twitch, X and YouTube. Phone lines are open as well, 01733 602 133. You can text or WhatsApp the show on 07411 191062. Tonight, there are three big stories. Locally, the Peterborough City Council leader has resigned after using the phrase poor white trash about grooming gang victims. Nationally, the Prime Minister yesterday ducked a question on whether he would sack Angela Rayner, and today she's resigned after an ethics breach finding. And internationally, devastating floods across Pakistan with millions displaced, as well as a heartbreaking earthquake in Afghanistan as well. Easy one to get going in a word. What should define leaders? Party loyalty, principles, or honesty? Drop your comments and questions, etc., throughout the show. And now, of course, let me introduce you my co-host Ishfaq. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Been a busy week.
It's been a busy week. There is a lot to get through today, no doubt. So kicking things off with Peterborough City Council leader resigns. Locally this matters. Labour leader Dennis Jones has resigned after being suspended by his party when messages surfaced in which he referred to grooming gang victims as poor white trash from Rotherham. Independent councillor Daisy Blakemore Creedon shared the exchange. Labour says the language was inappropriate and it moved swiftly to suspend pending investigations. It was published yesterday afternoon by the Peterborough Telegraph. Suspension and intention to step down confirmed following WhatsApp messages dated August the 8th. Of course, we have ITV Anglia. They were reporting he quit the leadership after party suspension. And a Labour spokesperson, I quote, highest standards expected. They won't comment further during the investigation. In fact, this was stunning. You know, when I first saw this, couldn't quite believe what I was reading.
I was shocked and surprised, to be honest with you. I'm not going to sit here and try and defend the indefensible when it comes to the words that were used. I will say that, look, I was a ward councillor along with Dennis Jones, but in Dogsthorpe, but on the opposition. So I was a Conservative and he was a Labour councillor at the time. So there was stuff that we did together, cross-party, and we went, beyond sort of politics, etc., just to make sure that we did the right thing for residents. And in that sense, I would say that while working with Dennis within those couple of years, I did find a respect for him. He's a decent guy. Did he get the wrong words? Did he use, I'll come on to that in a minute as well. But I've seen comments on social media about Dennis, he should resign, he should be this, he should be that. And, as councillors or as politicians, I will say that it is a thankless task. People don't realise how much time and effort goes into, say, being a councillor and how much it takes away from your personal life. People will say you get paid for it, but trust me, the amount of money you get for being a councillor compared to the amount of time and energy you have to invest, it doesn't compute. But in that time, I got to know Dennis, and like I said, I think he's a decent guy. He got things wrong, but saying that, look, at the end of the day, this was a private conversation, something that a lot of people within the public domain won't know. And I don't know Daisy personally. I don't know, although she was a councillor in my last year, we never had any interaction, so I don't really know her, so I can't comment. But the one thing I do know that is Dennis and his wife had taken Daisy in, and she was living with them for a amount of time, whether it was a year or two, I don't know how long. Again, I don't want to comment on that because I don't know how long it was, but I know that she was living with them, so part of the family, you could say, almost. or friends or family, but close enough to live together. So when you're in that kind of situation, and our listeners will probably understand when I say this, but the conversations you have within a family group or within a friendship group is probably different to what you would have outside. Not just, sometimes you let your guard down because you're not talking as a politician, you're talking to your friend or you're talking to your family member, etc. And in that instance, maybe, Dennis wasn't as guarded. Maybe, people are looking at this as if it was a political conversation between two councillors. They don't know the background of it and I'm not, like I said, I'm not defending what was said. I'm just saying the circumstances from what I see on the outside looking in. Now, for me, as the opposition councillor, don't forget in the next election, Dennis would have been up for election, or is up for election, and I would have probably been going against him. So as an opposition councillor, for me, happy days, it's like the ideal situation. But that's not the way that I want to win an election, because I think he's a decent guy, and fair dues to him. The situation that's occurred, and I feel like he's been kind of put under the bus a little bit because of this, because it was a private conversation between what he probably assumed was a family, in a way a family or a friend, and he was having this conversation with them. For it to then be leaked, I don't think that was the right thing. So
you take issue with the fact that it was leaked, right? For me, language like white trash is classist and dehumanising. Even if it intended to criticise stereotypes, it still demeans victims. That's not compatible with leadership in a city as diverse as ours. And locally, trust in institutions is already fragile. As you know, after years of national rows over grooming cases in Rotherham and elsewhere, leaders must be precise, compassionate and careful, or they lose legitimacy. I take your point. For whatever reason, they're close. I mean, I don't know anything about their personal relationships, but he still did what he did.
The conversation, yes, and there's some comments I've seen where he was trying, from what I understand, look, like I said, I'm not defending that. Those words are very hurtful, especially with what we've been speaking about over the last few shows and stuff, and what we as Muslims, as British Muslims, have to sometimes deal with and face. But the fact is, again, it comes back to some of our other shows where there seems to be this emphasis, or there's this push about Asian grooming gangs, although, and everyone's concentrating on that. Mm-hmm. And if it's definitely about the victims, and if it's only about the victims, then it should include all victims. That's what I keep saying.
I agree.
Okay? So it shouldn't just be the 4% that were affected by, say, Asian grooming gangs. It shouldn't be that those grooming gangs are only talked about being deported, even if they were British born.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It should be that all of those criminals should be treated in the same way, but then regardless of what colour, creed they are, what religion they are, they all deserve the harshest punishment. Now, coming back to the comments, I'm never ever going to be able to defend that, and I never will. All I'm trying to say is, firstly, maybe he said it with his guard down because he was talking to a friend. At the same time, from what I've read on certain comments and posts, and while this Labour inquiry goes on, maybe the truth it'll get clarified later on. For the sake of Dennis Jones, I hope it does. But from what I understand, he wasn't calling them white trash. He was using that as a reference to what people have treated them as and called them as. But I don't know. From the basic messages we've seen, it looks the other way around. Yeah. Now, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and defend it. I'm not, going to say what it was supposed to say and what it was meant to say. The way you read it is the way you read it at the moment.
Absolutely. Okay, so should a single private message end a political career, or does context matter? Do let us know. You can text the show on 07411 191062, or you can comment on our live stream, Facebook, X, or YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. If you were a victim or a relative was a victim, would that wording stop you from coming forward to authorities? Do let us know. If you've experienced that as well. So I guess, Ishfaq, what should Peterborough councillors do now or next to rebuild trust? Because leading up to the show, the commentary online and the people that I've spoken to in the city is gone. There is no confidence. So how
there's-
can the leader do something like this? But then, moreover, obviously we've got cost of living crisis and so on, and so all of that's wrapped into one, isn't it?
It all comes down to, look, at the end of the day, as councillors, and, you know, having been a councillor for 3 years, you have to abide by the Nolan principles, you know, so you have to have a higher awareness, you know, obviously ethically, morally, you have to look at stuff, you have to be more guarded, but you have to have a level of trust. You know, the public have voted you in and put you there as, say, to represent your constituents and to be their voice. So you have to hold a higher, maybe ground, you want to say, you know, or ethics and morals in that sense, and you have to be accountable.
So would you say that with that in mind now, this is a real wake-up call for every other council that's currently sitting within the council to mind how they're conducting themselves?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And obviously,
100%.
as a former councillor as well, can you tell us about... Okay, so what happens next? You know, obviously there's going to be... just talk me through it, how the next, you know, leadership race, or... How does that all work? What happens next?
So now that Dennis Jones has stepped down, obviously all the council meetings, etc., will be suspended at the moment until a new cabinet, almost you could say, is decided by the new leader. So again, like Parliament, it's like a reshuffle. So from what I understand from the Constitution, so Councillor Jamil at the moment is a deputy, but from my understanding, he can't go for the leadership because of the Constitution, so the deputy can't. So he'll probably remain maybe as the deputy, depending on what the new leader decides. And then there'll be a vote in a special meeting. I think it's probably next week, Friday or Saturday. I'm not sure what day.
Is that all of the councillors?
All of the councillors have to vote. So where, you know, a couple of months ago, was it even probably less than that, where there was this almost coup to try and oust Labour of the leadership, and the Conservatives at the time decided not to do that, and the reason was because there's been so much instability that, look, at the end of the day, by changing the leaders all the time, you're adding to that instability, because by the time they get their feet under the ground and get running, you know, you're constantly sort of resetting the system. And who loses out? The public loses out, the city loses out. So the idea was, look, we're there, although, you know, it would have pained Conservatives to do that, but at the end of the day, at that time, it was the right thing to do. So now you've got different groups, People First, the Liberals, the Greens, whether they try and, you know, do that coalition again and have another go, whether Labour try and have a coalition with People First, or whether Conservatives have a coalition, or whether they'd want to. I don't
Where's the balance
think
of
so.
power? Does Labour have enough seats to just do it on their own?
I can't remember the exact numbers, but they can't do it on their own.
Okay.
I don't think
so
they
this
can.
is going to be interesting, isn't it?
There's I don't think there isn't actually. There isn't an overall majority.
Okay.
So to have an overall majority, you've got to have more than, say, 30 seats, or 30 seats plus, yeah?
Okay.
And that's the overall majority, because there's 60 seats. And there isn't at the moment.
So we've got some interesting times ahead. I'm assuming there will be some frantic phone calls. People are going to try to get together whether or not to see a coalition is the appropriate thing to do, having seen what Labour has done so far within the city. So after the 12th, did you say the 12th? Yeah.
There's something else I'll touch on, but I'll tell you, I never saw it until I got into politics.
Okay.
We always think everything in this country is so smooth flowing and easygoing. And people you say, oh, you know what, politics can be dirty. And this example is a perfect example of that with Dennis Jones. You know, almost, he's probably still pulling the daggers out of his back. The same happened with Wayne Fitzgerald. You know, he had people that were close with him that stabbed him in the back for leadership. So there's this kind of race for control and leadership all the time. But then the people that miss out, again, while people are trying to concentrate on the leadership and getting control and be in the cabinet or whatever, it's the public that are missing out, because really we want people that are there who know what they're doing, who understand, you know, what the responsibilities are that come with that leadership. And unfortunately, sometimes we've not been there. But the votes or the way things have gone, or even now, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I won't be surprised if somewhere along the way there was some shady dealings gone on that brought this message out to favour certain groups taking control and deposing the leader.
Well, that would be interesting, wouldn't it, if that came out?
That won't probably come out because if they're clever enough to do this now, they're probably clever enough to cover that.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens, won't we? But this leads us into, segues into a pretty astonishing story here, which has just been unfolding throughout the day and throughout the week. It's the Prime Minister and Angela Rayner and standards in public life. Yesterday, the Prime Minister declined to say whether he would sack Angela Rayner if she were found to have breached the ministerial code, stressing due process and that he'd act on independent advisor's report. Well, today, Angela Rayner has now stepped down after the ethics advisor concluded she breached ministerial standards over stamp duty on a Hove flat. Her resignation letter says she deeply regrets not seeking specialist tax advice. Number 10 sources say a reshuffle is coming. Well, I can tell you, while we've been on air, there has been a significant reshuffle, I think more than what people had expected. But the facts really, laid out here is, the Guardian said the resignation was submitted and accepted by the PM, who said he was very sad her time had ended in this way. The Times said no, Starmer had pledged to act on the watchdog's findings, which he did. Now, in standards and consistency, process really matters. The Prime Minister's line yesterday, wait for the report, is right in principle if that's our new norm. Good, but it must apply to everyone. Rayner's case hinged on stamp duty liability, complicated by a trust for her disabled son, and shifted legal advice. Sympathetic context, but public standards demand candour and early independent advice. Ishfaq, She may have acted in good faith, but she's still fallen below the code. And in that scenario, resignation is the cleanest route, isn't it?
It's a high position. I mean, the second highest position in the country in politics.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at her
leader.
roles, right? So she was deputy leader of the deputy prime minister. She was the housing minister, and then she was one more, wasn't she? She had 3 roles. She had it'll come to me, and she had all 3 of these roles. The housing minister role here really is key, I think. Of course, she's the DPM, but the housing minister role here is really, really key. And do you feel that the PM has handled this correctly, or should he have had a firmer line yesterday? Do let us know. You can comment on the live stream. What should be the penalty for a code breach in good faith?
Well, as I was saying, so it's the second highest position in in Parliament, in the country, in politics, and it comes back to Nolan principles as the basic standard. Holding yourself to higher ethics, higher morals, accountability, and transparency. For someone at that level to be trusted with the nation's security, the nation's finances, and everything else that comes with it, the nation's policies, the nation's housing, like you're saying. But then to drop the ball on your own finances or accountability is a big thing. That's the issue here.
It is, I agree. So and the other element here as well is, of course, the independent report did highlight the fact that she did try to seek advice. However, because of her position, they say a normal person, you and I, we'll double check something. But when you're in that position, you should be triple checking something. You should be asking yourself a question when you're dealing with something like this: is this going to come back and bite me at some stage? And then there's the other element throughout the week, which is where she was saying she had received incorrect advice, and it was almost, she was kind of like inferring it from
passing the buck.
No, but she was inferring it to the what's it?
Financial advisor,
conveyancing agency.
Okay.
And I think they said, look, this, this is legal advice. This is not tax advice or something like that. And that they came out as well, and they've said, no, we didn't do this, right? So of course they've got to look after their own reputation. The issue that I have here is that many people are saying, well, she came from a working class background. She's done this. She's risen through the ranks. That's fine. But the bottom line here is, how does it look? That's one. And two, she's been found to breach the code. That is totally indefensible.
Well, it's
and the issue that I have really here as well is that people who are raging about, oh look, she's done this and Labour's all that. If we turn the clock here, and we talk about the Tories. In
Let
the
me-
14 years... Wait, I need to
Go on.
I need to get this off my chest.
Yeah.
In the 14 years they were in charge, we have to remember that Boris Johnson fired his independent advisor, ethics advisor. I believe Sunak brought one back in. Boris Johnson ignored all the advice. When Priti Patel was caught doing all the stuff that she was doing, they put a ring around her.
Just to interrupt you there,
Yeah.
that was over 14, 15 years you just mentioned. But Starmer's also
5 years ago,
Starmer's also fired his ethics advisor recently. You know that.
Yeah, but
In
he's-
the last out the 4 ministers that he's sacked or fired.
The person who did the report is his ethics advisor.
No, there was one that was fired as
Oh,
well.
okay, okay.
So
That's
what I'm
fine, but the point
yeah.
I'm saying is...
So, but in a very short amount of time.
Whoa. But the point is, he's acted on the advice. Boris Johnson didn't. In fact, he ignored the advice and they carried on doing what they were doing. We had Zahawi doing all the stuff with all of his properties. We had Jeremy Hunt, who bought all those flats all together and said, "Oh, this was just an honest mistake." And then Labour come into power, and of course, I'm apolitical, right? Labour come into power and they say, "We're going to clean up. We're going to make sure this doesn't happen again." Do you not give any credit at all to Starmer for the way they've quickly handled this?
No, I don't. And I'll tell you why. Because from all the stuff that you've listed, the one thing that Angela Rayner especially and Keir Starmer kept on harking on about and were very vocal about, and like you said, trying to clean up the system, and they weren't happy with it, and things are going to be different, and it's all about change, right? It's the most amount of hypocrisy. That's all I can say to you about this, because you can't say we're going to do this and we're against this, and at the same time, you know what? When you're in power, with it comes responsibility, and it's a very hard can to carry. And unfortunately, I think Labour are finding that up and down the country, that as much as they were talking and, you know, raising all these issues with the Conservatives when they were in power, you know, they were the biggest, how can I put it, the loudest, right, when it came to all the stuff with COVID and all the stuff that during then, you know, and the reasons that Boris was forced to resign. But yet they're guilty of the same things in a very short period of time, not far from, you know, so either they've got short memories or they've ignored and don't think that they're accountable in the same way that, say, the Tories were.
That's not true, though. How
Why?
can you say that?
Why?
The Tories were literally, there was sleaze after sleaze in the last 5-6 years of the government.
I don't
Okay,
think...
look at Hancock. Remember he said, "Oh, I'm going to put a ring around the care homes." What did he do? What was he busy doing as well? The other stuff that he's doing, he's having an affair, right? Okay, you cannot compare the Tories to Labour right now. I'm not defending Labour.
I'm
just
not
saying,
trying to compare them. I definitely
Yeah.
don't want to compare them.
The issue, the way I look at this right now is, you know, yes, I do agree with you on the fact that they have been hypocritical, especially Rayner. You can't, I mean, she was like, I mean, she's in other news networks and media organisations, she's been referred to as, you know, the media attack dog. I mean, she was really gunning the Tories. Remember from the dispatch box and all, so on. So she was going for them, and to fall on her own sword is spectacular.
That is the best example of it, actually. She did, you know, she sharpened that sword at the expense of the Tories, but then she fell on it herself.
She's fallen on it herself, there's no doubt about that. But if this was Boris instead of Starmer, she would have stayed in post. Because,
You can't say that.
No, well, come on. Jeremy Hunt stayed in post. Zahawi stayed in post. Priti Patel stayed in post.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why how can you say that to me? Oh, I love doing this show with you. It's brilliant. Honestly.
And?
And
yeah, what?
Oh, my God. Look,
Yeah, but times change, people change. I'm not here sitting defending, but it's a lot different. I believe it's different to those events, and I don't remember all of them. I wasn't scarred by them like you were, maybe, and that's why I don't remember them.
keep going.
That's what I'm just saying.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I can
So
say
you've got
about it.
selective memory, yeah?
Selective, probably, yeah.
Right, you know what I'm doing right now as we're talking to each other?
Researching.
I am going to make sure I get a list of these things that happened.
Well, you don't need to find the list online. You probably got it in your diary somewhere, in your to-do list.
I didn't do that. Why are you saying this to me? I'm not like that. Okay.
Under I hate Tories.
No. See, what you're going to do is you're going to make out as if I'm not. I'm apolitical. Nice try. You always do it. If it's not you, it's the doc. You know, I don't show. Where my flag is. Of course, I don't. But we have to look at the fact that she she obviously had bad advice, and she should have triple checked her advice, and she's gone. And now we have a situation where Shabana Mahmood has been moved over from Justice to Home Secretary, and that's because she's done, as far as Keir Starmer's done, she's done a difficult job really, really well. So
who's the Foreign Secretary, by the way?
The Foreign Secretary now is Yvette Cooper.
And she's very
pro-Israel.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay, I didn't know that. Okay,
I believe.
Right. So we've got in the reshuffle. We've got David Lammy as Deputy Prime Minister. We've got Shabana Mahmood as Home Secretary. We've got Yvette Cooper as Foreign Secretary. I'm just going to check this while we're on air. Just to make sure we can see where the reshuffle is. And the reason why I mention this as well, when we take this into the second half as well of the show, is that look what is happening to Labour, especially based on the fact that Starmer announced this is Labour 2.0. This is 2.0 version of us, what we're doing. So, I mean, talking about it coming really quickly at you in a week, within a week. They're looking for an opportunity. He was looking for an opportunity to reset, and it's come. And it's come faster and harsher than they had probably envisaged. And it's given, by all accounts, Reform ammunition now to really go at them, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. They've not. I would say Labour have made things easy for Reform at the moment, especially over the last year with all the policies that they've been putting forward. I can't, in my lifetime, think of a government that was more disliked within the first year, and that's saying something.
I do agree with you. I think they've lost quite a lot of support, but we'll pick this up in the second half of the show, and we can go through some of this reshuffle and talk about where we think Starmer is going to end up towards the end of his tenure, or we're going to have an early election.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
There's simply a variety of choice at Chicken Valley, 318 Lincoln Road. And we don't just mean whether you dine in or order for takeaway or delivery. With halal dishes including peri-peri chicken, wings, strips and wraps, Korean burgers, sides, milkshakes and so much more. You'll have to experience Chicken Valley again and again and again. Open 11 a.m. until late, every day of the week. Order delivery via Just Eat, Uber or Food Hub. Or for collection, call Chicken Valley on 01733 564 053.
Award-winning ST Complete Care provide all kinds of regular and respite care for your loved ones. Rated good by the CQC and with outstanding reviews, ST Complete Care will tailor their services for children and adults, including helping with personal and home care, medication assistance, visits and appointments too. With bilingual carers, ST Complete Care are also experienced with disabilities, dementia, autism, Alzheimer's and more. To arrange your free assessment, call 01733 303300. Caring for you the way you want.
Turkish Restaurant Peterborough. The name says it all. It's the restaurant in Peterborough that serves amazingly mouth-watering halal Turkish cuisine, including delicious kaneva and baklava desserts. At 1253 Borges Boulevard, Turkish Restaurant Peterborough's the place to dine. 43307076 or view online at turkishrestaurantpeterborough.com.
GLADCARE is your community support centre, delivering services you need. Access free English classes for reading, writing, speaking and listening, or a computer course with CV writing, qualified immigration advice and more, including food parcels or supermarket vouchers. GLADCARE can help. Also for free yoga and healthy you sessions and monthly coffee mornings with local GPs on site. 316 Gladstone Street and online at gladcare.org.uk. Call 01733 566 343.
At Cake Inn, all our cakes and slices are freshly baked for that delicious taste. At Cake Inn, we bake 100% vegetarian and halal eggless fresh cream cakes. Delicious flavoured cakes for birthdays and weddings, ceremonies and all other occasions, with free customised messages, even balloons and candles too. Order for delivery or collection from Cake Inn, 4A 89 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PE, and your cake could be ready within 2 hours. Find out more and order online at cakein.co.uk or call 01733 496 584.
Busy Bunnies Nurseries is where children grow and thrive. It's where your little ones will enjoy expert care, engaging activities and a warm, welcoming environment. Busy Bunnies Nurseries also provide great learning experiences in exceptional indoor and outdoor settings. So when looking for a loving, fun and safe place for your child, visit at 627 Lincoln Road, Peterborough, now with additional parking, or online at busybunniesnurseries.co.uk. Call 01733 897799 to book your visit today. Busy Bunnies Nurseries, where children hop into a brighter future.
Whether you're eating in or ordering for collection or delivery, Big Mouth at 349 Lincoln Road in Peterborough is the place for all the family favourites you know and love. But now it's even better, as loaded fries, grilled and smashed burgers, peri-peri strips and wings have been added to Big Mouth's mouth-watering menu of pizzas, chicken and so much more. Call in today, order for delivery via Uber Eats or call 01733 201020. Big Mouth's open 11 till 2, 7 days a week.
Peterborough's community radio station, Salam Radio, 106.2 FM.
Welcome back to Let's Talk, and if you've just tuned in, you missed first half of our show when we were talking about Peterborough City Council leader Dennis Jones' resignation, and now we've been talking about the epic disaster that's taking place in the Labour Party, and of course the resignation of the Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, and the Labour reshuffle that's currently taking place as well. You can get involved in the show. You can text on 07411 191062, or you can text the show or comment on our live stream. Of course you can. So we were mentioning about the reshuffle just then. So just to go over that again, Ishfaq, Shabana Mahmood has been promoted from Home Secretary, to Home Secretary. Yvette Cooper has been shifted from Home Office to become Foreign Secretary. David Lammy moves from Foreign Secretary to become Justice Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister. So he's got that. While Rachel Reeves remains as Chancellor. And this is the first time in the UK has had 3 women in the so-called great offices of state alongside the Prime Minister. Rayner's exit was a significant problem for Sir Keir, and it came days after changes to his Downing Street team in an effort to focus on delivery. And delivery is what we're going to be speaking about now. They've been in the office for over a year, and you know they've got some things right. Of course, it was always going to be challenging. Things don't change overnight, and they're working on those things. But I have to say, my God, in the last few months, their approval rate has shot. And I recall sharing with you not so long ago a stat that showed how far Reform are now of Labour.
Well, look,
and of course, your poster girl, Nadine Dorries, has also defected from the Tories to Reform.
yeah, she has. Well, firstly, I can't think of anything that Labour have done right. I can think of many things that they've done wrong, and those sit very high on the public's list, you know, whether it's with the farmers, whether it's with pensioners, whether it's with, you know, students. It goes a long way, motorists, you name it, that, you know, everyone at the moment is feeling the pinch when it comes to Labour, businesses. So the list goes on. As for, I know Doris has moved over to Reform, but at the end of the day, look, I mean, Paul was our ex-MP, was the Undersecretary to her, and he lost his position with his stance on Gaza, so he lost that job. And in the end, we didn't, back him up, or not, not enough people did, should I say, and we ended up with a MP that, on the other foot, has taken money from lobby groups, pro-Israel lobby groups. So it's as a community, I feel like we failed there when it comes to the Gaza issue. Or as much as we talk about it politically, I think locally we failed. But that's another show, another day.
I just want to pick you up on some of the things that you just said there. So 43% of Britons say Labour hasn't done anything positive yet. And obviously, what you just said, in terms of where you've articulated some of the areas where they've made an impact negatively. Of course, we had the winter fuel payments, which was reversed. But if we were to look at some of the things that they've done, you have changes in the NHS across Building Britain, trying to build new houses and trying to stimulate and get the economy growing. I haven't really seen much traction in these major areas, and the cost of living crisis has only is carrying on increasing, hasn't it?
Well, let's put it this way.
Okay, I've got some Labour people texting me at the moment, so I'll let you know what those comments are.
You can do, but look, we're talking about changes in NHS.
Yeah.
One of the key words that from the last general election that people will remember for Labour was change. Whether it was on local, general election, everyone was talking about change. It's not the kind of change that they were probably anticipating or hoping for, and it's much the same with reform. I said this to you last week as well. If somehow reform do come in and they're promising all these changes, I can tell you now, some won't be delivered and some will be so awful that people will be, much like they are now, regretting their decisions. But, that's for another day as well.
Okay, so let me put it to you then. So one of the main things on paper, one of the main targets that they had was the cost of living, okay? And after the first 6 months of the government, it had actually risen by £144, the fastest start of any government going back to at least 1954. And as of March, it had then fallen to £81, and it was still really, really high, i.e. a weekly spend. They claim it's going well, but they are still driving really hard to bring that target back down. The second one was inflation. They wanted to get it back to 2%. And it fell consistently during the last year and a half of Rishi Sunak's premiership, dropping from a peak of 11.1% in October 2022 to exactly 2%, the Bank of England target in June 2024. It continued to fall in Labour's first couple of months, but then it steadily climbed back up to 3.4% back in May. And it's fluctuating constantly. But they feel like this is something that they are trying to get grips on. These are messages that I've got coming in from.
Yeah, but the reason it's fluctuating because of the uncertainty with the government and their policies and the constant changes.
The other one they had was smash the gangs. Okay, that is not going well. Okay, what I can say though, that more than 44,000 people have arrived in the UK in small boats in the 12 months since Labour came to power. So that was
there's an increase.
There's an increase now. To date, it's much higher. Which is a rise of over 40%. But Labour themselves are saying the amount of people they've also deported. Now they've got the one in, one out policy with France going, and they're trying to. It's obviously going to be a very difficult task, but they're trying all different types of methods to try this from happening. But I have a quote from someone who's texted as well saying that rather than smashing the gangs, it looks like the gangs are smashing the government. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that all day. It's not a laughing matter at the end of the day, but it's a fact that, look, at the end of the day, I've mentioned this again, and I'm going to keep repeating it because I believe there's something going on here which is beyond us with what the government's doing. Because when I see lorries going back with these dinghies back to France to help more illegal migrants coming over, then I reckon that they are playing into the hands of reform because, and that's the way that they're heading. It's almost like they're trying to do them a favour and say, look, we need these guys in or something. They want to get rid of...
So you're saying something else is at play, something bigger is at play?
Yeah, and okay. I've spoken to public members from different backgrounds, and we have these conversations, and you know what, regardless of whether they're white, black, Asian, Muslim, Christian, I've had these conversations over the last couple of weeks with people, and they all think the same as me. They're saying there's something more at play here. They're trying to cause some racial tension, and the right wingers are trying to take advantage of that and push this. All migrants are evil, all migrants are bad, and protect our women and children. When we always say this, we all want the same for this country. We want protection. We want to be safe, but there's more at play.
Interesting. Okay, the other one was reducing NHS waiting times, millions of more appointments. We can't deny that they have opened up millions of more appointments. Yet still, in terms of the service delivery, we are in a difficult stage, and we've got winter coming. So
I'm sorry, look, Akil, at the end of the day, I had an issue after COVID. We were way behind with appointments.
Yeah.
Okay, and there was a reason for it because of COVID. That we were in lockdown. There's so many other issues that were caused by COVID, and so many financial issues that were caused because of COVID. So the one excuse I'm tired of hearing, and I'm hoping that because it's over their first year now, it'll be the end of it where all I hear socialists or Labour people saying is they left us with a black hole, they left us with a deficit. No, at the end of the day, look, there was a lot of money spent to support businesses, support people, because if that wasn't done by the government at the time, this country would be looking a lot different now. A lot different.
No, I agree.
But at the same time, when we talk about the NHS, you know, I was upset when I saw people, elderly people, patients in corridors in A&E waiting for treatment.
It's called corridor
right?
care.
And I went there recently, and it was even worse. There was, you know, the corridors were full of people, and I was like, "Where's these patients' dignity? You know, why have they been treated in this way?" And it's full capacity. It's this, that, the other. Yet we've had in Peterborough, we had the walk-in centre that was on Thorpe Road closed, which was taking away a lot of the traffic from A&E. You know, so we're talking about improving services. At the moment, I've not seen that.
Okay, I know she's gone, but she had the remit of building 1.5 million new homes, and they are so far behind on this. It's unreal.
Yeah.
So this is super ambitious, and they're completely behind that. The other one was Clean Power. You know, what is it going to create their own energy company? What's it called? GB Power or something? I can't recall now. And they wanted Clean Power by 2030. That was the other one. And then of course they wanted to have the fastest economic growth in the G7. So, and lastly, the most important one: no tax rises. Well, November's coming. She's pushed the budget back. I think we're looking at some serious tax rises because of the deficit that we're in and because of the borrowing costs. So I've listed out all of these things, and over the next couple of months, and we're not far from November anyway, are we? We'll see what happens in the budget.
Look, Labour, the first thing that you expect is tax, and that's something that whether they promise it or not, that's what you're going to get.
Said it like a true Tory. Well, next time round in the hot seat, I'll have Dr. Shabina, member of the...
Well, no, hold on, it's not like a true Tory. Let's just clarify. So, since Labour have been in, they've increased taxes. And I can tell you now, in November, they will increase taxes.
This is a fact.
Right? It will impact businesses. It will impact people. You know, we're talking about cost of living crisis. I'm telling you now, it will impact employers, businesses, and it already has.
Yes.
It's had a massive impact. The NI taxes and all that has already had an impact
Hugely.
on employment.
And not just that, don't forget, we've had some of the people who paid the most tax flee the country. We've lost more billionaires and millionaires than ever because, you know, they...
No, let's be honest now. Thanks to Labour.
Oh, dear. Do you disagree with Ishfaq? Do let us know, comment in the live stream. We'd love to hear from you. I think it's been a pretty messy affair over the last couple of weeks. And I think the reshuffle, I think Starmer's hoping today, with all the different people that he's moved around, that he can change the narrative from not just what Rayner did and stepped down to, yes, you know, Angela Rayner's, you know, she's resigned from the party, and now we're doing this. And the idea, I'm assuming, is that they divert the conversation towards, okay, what are these people going to do next? So it's going to be interesting to see, isn't it? They've got some different characters now with different with a responsibilities they didn't have before, and they have made, some may argue they have or haven't made an impact in their roles in the previous roles, but nevertheless we have got some strong characters in the reshuffle. And do you think, Ishfaq, sat here today with this reshuffle now with Shabana Mahmood, Yvette Cooper, David Lammy, and others in different posts, do you feel that we're looking at a real Labour 2.0 situation coming? Or are we just going to have more of the same?
I was literally, before you said it, I was thinking all along that 1 minute segment when you just spoke, I was thinking more of the same. And literally that's all it's going to be, more of the same. So Lammy failed to deliver anything over the last year or whatever it's been on Gaza, apart from words at the dispatch box. Okay, he's moved along now because I think he was exhausted with saying and doing nothing. Okay, there's only a certain amount of time that you can keep just doing nothing, and now, you know, his is it Yvette Cooper, you said, has come in, so she's got probably another year of saying a lot but doing nothing, achieving nothing, and so more of the same.
Do you think Shabana Mahmood is going to have more success than Yvette Cooper?
I think so. Look, at the end of the day, she might be good. She was very good in her justice role. I will say that, from what I've been seeing, but we'll see. I don't know. Okay. More of the same.
Okay, we're about 30 seconds away actually now from a call to prayer. So we hope you can stay with us until that concludes. We're talking about the Pakistan flooding and the Afghanistan earthquakes after the call to prayer concludes. Ishrat, really appreciate your thoughts on this. Like you said, you know, we'll see what happens. I'm sure. I think Labour are already fighting for what may happen at the next general election, and we'll see that with, with how Nigel Farage and his party also continue. I think it's a very interesting time in politics, and I personally wouldn't want to be a Labour politician right now.
I never have wanted to be, so I'm all right. It's imploding.
It's absolutely imploding. You're right indeed, but I do feel that they've got a few threats. Okay, so they've got internally. Then they've got the Your Party, or whatever it's going to be called, with Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana. Then they've got this new leader that's been elected for the Green Party. So the left voting, people who vote for the left, that's going to be spread quite thin, isn't it? And that will have an impact nationally with the likes of Tories and Reform. Though I don't think the Tories are going to do well in the next general election either. I think we're looking at a very, very strong Reform Party versus Labour.
I disagree.
You actually think the Tories are going to come back with Kemi?
Yeah,
with Kemi as your leader.
Well, look, I'm not saying who the leader's going to be, but I think the Tories are coming back.
Oh, look at that! Well, see you after this short break.
You're listening to Salam Radio, and it's now time for Maghrib Azan.
This Azan is sponsored by Children of Adam, changing lives in Peterborough and across the world since 2013. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
This dua is sponsored by Chicken Valley, flavour that rules the roost.
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم بك نحيا وبك نموت وإليك المصير. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا.
And that was Maghrib Azan. You're listening to Let's Talk Live on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. And throughout the show, we've been discussing politics here in Peterborough and, of course, nationally with the resignation of Angela Rayner and the Prime Minister's reshuffle. But now we move on to a story quite close to our hearts, Pakistan flooding and what we can do. There have been severe monsoon floods battering Pakistan. Punjab has seen the worst deluge in decades, millions affected, extensive evacuations, and now the flood crest moves south into Sindh. Reuters this week reported over 1 million evacuations in Punjab. AP today says Sindh has moved more than 100,000 people. National fatalities since late June are running into the hundreds. Reuters put the toll at 819 earlier this week. Pakistan's NDMA has flood warnings for the Chenab River and more. And the UNOCHA flash update, they said Punjab is facing the worst flooding in years. This isn't just in Pakistan, this is also in the Punjab of India as well. Scientists point to compounding drivers such as monsoon bursts, glacial melt, and river management issues. And there are many, organisations on the ground. To name some, Islamic Relief has Pakistan floods appeal for food, water, hygiene kits and temporary shelter. The UNOCHA updates give responders needs and snapshots. And here in Peterborough we have Children of Adam as well, who you can get in touch with, childrenofadam.org, where you can donate to. And of course Kashmir Orphan Relief Trust, aka COURT, who you can go to their website and donate through there. But Ishfaq, this has been devastating.
It has. It's amazing to see that people are watching these videos on news channels, on YouTube. I mean, it's something that I've been looking at, to be honest with you, searching to see the impact of it. And it's heart-wrenching to see people that are already, in many cases downtrodden or hard done by already, who are rebuilding their lives from, say, 2-3 years ago, to have to go through that again. And these are people that are on the breadline. And then to lose everything, it's difficult. I mean, before I came to this show, as I was leaving home, my mum was just catching something, and she mentioned, my family sort of relatives live in Gujarat, in Punjab, and that is in between the Jhelum and the Chenab rivers. It sits in the middle of them. And it was safe up until now, but as I was leaving, my mum was saying that one of the banks has broken, and they're saying that, there's a flood, high flood risk in that area as well now. So it's affecting people across the country, and we need to do more.
We do, and of course neighbouring Afghanistan has been hit by devastating earthquakes as well. Over 2,000 dead and urgent appeals for aid. I recall when I saw the first one, and I couldn't quite believe what I was looking at. It was quite a remote area, and a couple of days later another one came. So it's had an incredibly devastating impact in Afghanistan. So we've got two countries right next to each other, flooding in one of them, earthquakes in the other one as well. And as you said, it is heart-wrenching, but there is something we can do as Muslims. It is our duty to help. And when you see these appeals from organisations such as Children of Adam, such as Kashmir Orphan Relief Trust, such as Islamic Relief, it's really, really important that you do whatever you can. Most of the we have many family members, don't we? We have a lot of contacts here in the city. A lot of people, from Afghanistan and Pakistan, who have families there. They'll have houses, property there, businesses there, and they may have been affected by all this. But it's really important to get involved. And it's another sign, really, to me, of climate change, Ishfaq, and we're seeing countries like Pakistan and others around the world, and India, actually, there's parts of India as well, which are at serious risk to climate change, isn't it?
Well, look, and this is shocking for me to realise or find out in this week that I can't remember the exact degree. There was a couple of years ago, I was made aware of it, that globally, that we were told that if we go above a certain temperature,
1.5, wasn't it?
Right, then we're in trouble. And they were trying to reduce the whole point of this climate change ethos was to try and reduce and make sure we don't reach that or go past it. And unfortunately, it sounds like we have already gone past it earlier this year. Has a knock-on effect. Pakistan being one of the lowest pollutants in the world, less than 1% of industrial pollution comes from Pakistan. But yeah, it is subject to, like Bangladesh, like India, like Afghanistan, to these natural disasters. But also, I would say, look, we've got to take heed that it also seems like signs of the times, isn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt. And, I think you summarised that really, really well. So we pray that the victims of these disasters get relief ASAP. Ishfaq, thank you very much. I appreciate your company this evening. If you missed anything tonight, the links to appeals for Pakistan, Afghanistan, check out streams for descriptions. We're back next week. Salam Radio 106.2 FM. Remember, keep the conversation going on Facebook, Twitch, X and YouTube, and stay informed. Good night.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Fancy the true taste of Middle Eastern Kurdish food? Asia Restaurant gives you the unique fusion of flavours from Turkey, Iraq, Syria and Iran. Eat in at 5 Fitzwilliam Street,